Hi, I'm Jessica Klein, and today on Divorce Discovery, we're going to chat about dating during a divorce. So you're in the process of the divorce, it hasn't been finalized quite yet. I call this Divorce Discovery because I think we're on a path of discovering who we are and where we want to be and what we want out of life. I think typically it's called Divorce Recovery. I changed the name because I just like the sound of it better. I think recovery sounds like I'm sick or I broke my leg and I need to recover or something like that. So we're on, the path to discovery, and I'm here to help guide you with that. So I'm going to chat about, divorce and dating while you're in the middle of that, and just kind of weigh in on that from a therapeutic standpoint. And here's my, fancy name and all that sort of stuff. So let me just share with you again. My name is Jessica Klein. I am a licensed clinical social worker, a psychotherapist, and a divorce specialist. I provide all my services exclusively online. So in the state of Wisconsin and Hawaii, I provide therapy services. And then, nationwide and worldwide, actually, I provide divorce coaching. So if you're ever thinking about needing some services, feel free to check out my website. I have a lot of articles and that sort of stuff. So getting back to our topic, we are chatting about dating during a divorce and just, some things to consider. This topic came up for me the other day because I was on Instagram and I saw a post from a coach that said, it just kind of alluded to not judging people if they're dating after a divorce. And I'm not here to pass any judgment, but I certainly think there's things to consider about our discovery and things to think about legally as well. So I know that the divorce process varies so much in every different state. So for instance, my state, I believe, is 4 months from the day you file to the day that you can have it finalized, provided that there are no issues or litigation or anything like that. So, of course, 4 months when you think about it isn't that long, but there's certainly cases that are drawn out for years. And then other states, I thought I've seen like 30 days of a wait. Whoa, that's short. And then some I've seen that are very lengthy. So if you consider that you have been wanting or desiring or thinking about a divorce for a few years before you even move to that point of separating and filing, and then if you have to wait another year or even longer while you're trying to figure things out, it certainly seems reasonable that you would want to move on with your life and you would want to date. So let's kind of chat about some of those things to consider. I think the number one thing to consider is why are you wanting to date? Why are you feeling ready to date? Like I just shared in that long drawn out process where you're kind of just like, I think of myself as divorced and I'm ready to date. So, that's a good reason. Are you wanting to date because you're looking to fill the loneliness hole? Because that's not a good reason. You're not going to attract a quality relationship if that's a reason that you're looking to date. And I think that is a tendency, people have a tendency to want to replace. Our identity is so invested in our marital status. I mean, it's on every form. It's on, medical things like who's your spouse? Who's your spouse? Are you married? Are you divorced? All that sort of stuff. So it's such a big part of our identity that when that's taken away from us, we want to replace that. But that kind of, you're not growing then if you're just replacing, because you're still, in a certain way staying in that situation. So I always kind of encourage my clients to kind of check in with themselves, like take some time off and sit with yourself and think about what is my motive and why am I desiring to start dating, and is this a good time for me, and have I done the internal work? Another thing is to consider how long you've been separated. So if you have been separated for a long time, like I know couples that have separated for 10 years. They never moved forward with the legal process, for whatever reason. And it certainly would be difficult to not date for 10 years. Like, we're humans, we crave companionship and a relationship and that sort of stuff. So, and then, on the other hand, like, if you just separated 2 months ago, like, pump the brakes a little bit and invest in yourself, invest in your friendships, and invest in your family. And then when you're ready and it's a good time, then think about dating. So I mentioned doing the internal work. And I think that, our identity in a bad marriage is that identity. And we have to do the internal work to move beyond that identity. So our new identity as a single person, again, our new identity as a person who's divorced, our new identity as a single parent. We have so many different identities. Our financial identity, that changes after a divorce often. So thinking about, have I done the internal work? Am I where I want to be? Am I the best version of myself so that I can attract the best version of my relationship? I think that's really important to consider. Part of, the internal work, I always say you have to feel it to heal it. So if you haven't gone through the emotions and the hard times, then how are you really healing the experience? And then another thing to consider is the roller coaster of divorce. I was separated for 2 years before my divorce was filed. So, I kind of had already mentally moved forward and closed that door. And then I, went through the legal process. But the legal process is really a roller coaster. There's kind of this, it's so big, it's so important. And we're moving forward in the divorce. It's really happening. We're going before a judge. We're in a courtroom, and it's completely closing that door and then locking it. Like, that door is gone, or putting drywall up over where that door used to be. Like, it's not just this idea that can happen. It's happening, and we're on that roller coaster. And I think if we're dating during that, it's really hard on a new relationship to experience that. And then on the other hand, I don't know that we're truly experiencing it if we have another relationship to fall back on. So those are, some things to consider when you are, wondering if I should date during the divorce. There's some legal aspects as well, and I would certainly encourage you to chat with your attorney about this question. And so I'll cover how you're doing emotionally and your self-worth and all that good stuff. But your attorney would be able to advise on, where dating would come into play legally. So some states, are not 50-50. I'm in a community property state, so there's considerations about that. Does that change your settlement amount if you're dating? I mean, are you still considered to be, unfaithful, and how will that have an impact on your settlement? And how will the judge factor that in? And then if you start dating and maybe your soon-to-be ex-spouse is not, how is that going to affect them? And how are they going to treat the divorce process? And are they going to make things more difficult for you? Because they can see that you're moving on, and they may not necessarily like that. So sometimes we're making sacrifices so we're not having it, get in the way of having an amicable divorce. I think some states, have indicated that they consider that when they're estimating your spousal support. All those sort of things come into play. And then if you think about if you're a parent and you're in a divorce, thinking about how that affects the kids, and so really taking some time to consider those sort of things. Making sure that you are at a good place where you like I shared earlier. I gotta take a drink of coffee because I'm very thirsty. Every time I go to Disney, I get a new cup. So I've got a few. What was I saying? So you want to do the internal work. You want to be the best version of yourself during the divorce, after the divorce, so that you can have the best relationship for yourself. Don't replace loneliness with a relationship. Because then we're just kind of like, yeah, what's available, what's out there. I've certainly seen where it would, make sense that someone wants to date. I'm not here to say, no, 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 you should not be dating and passing judgment in that way. I just want you to consider all the things. So some of those people that are experiencing very lengthy divorce processes, whether that's imposed because of the state, whether that's because of the legal process and there's litigation and all that sort of stuff. I have a friend that, her divorce took about 4 years. So it would be hard to not date and not move forward. Then I think we're stuck, and I don't think that's a good place to be. So again, I think you should really think about it. Center in on yourself and decide what you really want and why you want it. Something I always tell people to do is date yourself after divorce. Get to know yourself. Get to know who you are, what you want, where you're going. Because we lose ourselves in a marriage a lot of times. Marriages, when we think about it, when I think about it, I haven't dated for 10 years. That's a decade. I don't even know how the hell to date anymore. So really, I have to think about who I am, and I have to become myself again before I'm ready to date. So I like to think of it as date yourself after divorce. And on my website, I have an article that was published that is tips on how to date yourself after a divorce, how to get to know yourself again, how to make you a priority, and then how to just contribute to your own growth and your own internal work. So again, I'm Jessica Klein. I call this Divorce Discovery because we're discovering who we are and what we want. And, up there is my website. Feel free to hop on, check out my services, learn about me. If you feel like you're in the need for some more in-depth services and you want a divorce coach or a divorce therapist, send me a message, leave me a comment on this YouTube video. And then if you have ideas for other videos or other topics that you think I should cover, absolutely put them down. Feel free to send me a message about that. I'm committed to kind of chatting about divorce because I think that, it can be a dark topic. It's hard to figure out who we can talk to and who understands it as well. Thanks. All right. Have a great day. Bye.